A few years ago, I used to attempt loads of videos over October for Horror Month. In 2020, I reacted to a couple of spooky videos. In 2021, I gave up on that entirely. Admittedly, I did consider dubbing October Metroid Month for the channel back then, with streams throughout the end of the month, featuring me playing Metroid 2 till it drove me insane, then doing a long play of Super Metroid while I was hungover. The only actual horror I did on the channel in 2021 was Outlast on the 1st, but I don't really like that sort of horror game, so it wasn't great. The thing is, in 2020 I did work on more than just the basic reactions and even managed to release something. Problem? It got a copyright strike due to some ignorance from me and a lot of misfortune. I called it childhood trauma. And no, I don't have the original video anymore. Childhood trauma is a thing that I've wanted to cover since I was still a child. The first video of the YouTuber Dicarus I ever watched following a Did You Know gaming video he narrated on the NES was a little video called Things That Scared Me as a Kid. Naturally, this video got me hooked on his channel and gave a possibly 12-year-old me a lasting impression regarding fear. See, 12-year-old me had only just gotten over a nasty little stint with creepypasta that had left me unable to sleep for weeks, until I stayed out in a field camping away from my TV and my phone. Of course, this wasn't the first time my childhood self had felt fear. I felt a lot of that over the years, and I'm not just talking about the many stints with creepypasta I had. That's sort of normal for my generation. I never truly feared the Slender Man or Jeff the Killer. Hell, I actually dressed up as Jeff for Halloween once upon a time. It must have been, what, 10? I'm talking about the absurd things, such as the Mastering Doctor Who being resurrected in the End of Time, or the face of Booze in specifically the N64 version of Super Mario 64. So with all that in mind, in this spooky month of October, why don't we go again? This won't be a comprehensive list of everything that's ever scared me. Until rather recent times, I was a bit of a fraidy cat. We'd be here for the next 60 years minimum. We're going to choose 10, an honourable mention, as well as some picks from my team and people around me. We'll go traditional with this list too. Old YouTube rules apply. Assuming franchises are involved, one thing per franchise. To personalise the list, I won't be choosing too many obvious ones, with perhaps one exception. It'd be wrong not to mention it. So no grisly tales, no goosebumps, no dead time stories. They're all designed to scare children in a safe environment, and that's kind of cheating. Why then include certain creepypasta? Because it's my list, mush. If we're going to do this, then we're going to do it right. Also, to the 12 of you that did see the original video, a couple of these are going to be familiar. I've gone deep with the choices here though, so even though I don't wholly remember what was on the list, I'm going to play it differently this time. It's worth me also clinging on to whatever's left of my dignity now by saying that the only full-blown fear I've felt in a long time was because of that lost Filipino flower shop commercial being described by one of the YouTubers I watch. I'm stupidly hard to scare. I guess the Babadook got me, but that's an Australian horror film firing on all cylinders, and we've already talked about this. So without further ado, grab a hot choc and settle down in front of the TV or computer with a dressing gown. Things are about to get scary, if you're me below the age of 13. If not, it's probably going to be pretty embarrassing for me.
Come along, you two! Dignity! Remember, dignity! At all times! Dignity! Well, there's got to be a first time for everything.
Right, this one isn't going to be too weird. I'd like to think a few kids found this utterly terrifying, but ultimately, the game positions them kind of comedically. Basically, in Pumpkin Hill, there are these creatures called Boos. No, not those ones, though that isn't that weird that two ghosts called Boos scared the young me? More on that later. That jump out at Knuckles. Later on, you have to fight their king known as King Boom Boom. The king is the one that scared me. I picked up my copy of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the GameCube from GameStation when I was around 5 years old. So about 5 minutes from GameStation disappeared into the ether for its less cool younger brother to take its place. And honestly, this caused me to put down the game for a little bit out of pure fear. Which is ridiculous when you remember what they sound like is this. So yeah, starting great for my tough guy Gred. So I'm not really sure if this one counts as normal or ridiculous fear. I've spoken to at least one other person who claimed to have shared this fear. I want to say it was you, Ella, but I really do not remember. But basically, as a kid, I was the Ben 10 fan. My oldest friend gave me an Omnitrix for like my 5th or 6th birthday. She's honestly the sweetest person ever. I was the geek going hero on the playground every day. I walked around Merry Hill, as in the place that Gumball based the Eleanor Mall on for the Yanks in the audience, messing around with my deluxe Omnitrix and the game that came on it. Now, as someone that was young when Ben 10 was airing in an era where Cartoon Network, Zero TV, CBBC and other kids' networks weren't afraid of scaring the kids, it isn't shocking that Ben 10 had scared me as well during my youth. And don't get me wrong, the normal shit like Zombozo and Scare, Ghost Freak, scared the absolute crap out of me as a kid. But then you have a slightly more tailored fear and a nightmare that's somehow stuck with me for all these years. In one episode of Alien Force, the sequel series where Ben's a teenager and dealing with a major alien conspiracy, Ben meets a member of the Arachnochimps that look identical to a sample of Arachnochimp DNA in the Omnitrix, allowing Ben to turn into Spider Monkey. This bloke's name is Simeon, and he's just a bit of slime ball. The exact circumstances of why Simeon freaked me out are largely down to the arachnophobia I developed during the 2010 World Cup, thanks to some spider just landing on my hand after I'd been playing in my back garden before England played. I want to say Spain? I don't know. Cut me some slack, it's been 15 years. Anyway, Simeon was an enemy to Ben's team in the show, and his yellow eyes made me perceive him as a threat. So for one reason or another, despite Simeon being a complete moron and kinda silly, I dreamt that I was trapped in his web and he was trying to eat my brain. I'm not even kidding. That's it. I'm going to cover a lot of ground right now, and you're all going to need to kind of trust me, as I'm going to be avoiding footage for this one, and a fair few others in this video. Trust me, that's where the last version of this video fell. Copyright drama. So enjoy this B-roll that I'm guessing was from the Faz video I never finished. I'm Gen Z, somewhere in the middle. YouTube was invented a couple of years after my birth. This was, at the time, a wonderful invention. Hell, by 2011-ish, where our story begins, I would argue it was still a great thing with very little downsides. I mean, Viacom had already attacked YouTube over copyright concerns, but it was a brilliant thing. And something that YouTube had a little bit of was indie animation. You know the kind of thing I mean, surely. And I absolutely love indie animation. Anyways, when I was in year 3, we got an English secondary teacher with an ironic name that I won't state just on the off chance someone tries finding her. Believe me, that name's funny. Weirdly enough, I don't remember her face. Anyway, she taught us by showing us YouTube videos. For some bizarre reason, almost all of these videos left me with lifelong scars of the kinds of fears that they unlocked in me for a while. Why then is it set number 8? Because it's obvious. All 3 of these, I would argue, were made to be deliberately tense or creepy. And one of them was even made to be an age-appropriate scare. So what were they? You've got Granny O'Grim's Sleeping Beauty, you've got Red Riding Hood by Kurt Puke, and you've got Scary Mary Poppins. So we'll go one by one, shall we? Starting with the grandmother whose namesake has never been more blatant. So Granny O'Grim is pretty innocent looking back. She was going to murder her grandchild, mind you, and I caught that. Between the "I'll see you in the morning," with the help of God, and "Go to sleep and I'll kill you," Basically, the gist was that she was the ugly witch in the story, and the child was descendant of the bloodline that fucked her over. Or perhaps she was the baby, and the story was a threat. I'm actually not really sure. But anyways, there was something off-putting even the first time I watched it, sat there in class. I didn't really get it. I then watched it again with my mother, and that settled the fear. Oh, and did I mention? The fucks who did the Bob the Builder rebooted it, Brown Bag Films, before they fucked with our favourite tradesman. Because our favourite tradesman is not Handy Manning.
Can't let them deport me! You know I was born in America! Yeah, the 14th Amendment says that makes you a citizen, and it's a real problem. Can we fix it?
This one though, I love an Irish accent, so every time I rewatch it, it's actually brilliant. Then we've got Red Riding Hood by Kurt Puke. It's a pretty simple but silent retelling of the classic story. You've got Red Riding Hood roaming through a deserted wasteland when she's eventually pursued by shadow wolves of some kind. Their awakening fucking freaked me out as a child. So anyways, she continues fleeing from them until she gets to some kind of town. She steps into a building and snap. She's eaten by a wolf that came from the building's shadow. Need I even explain this one regarding fear? But man, she looks badass with her Link-like outfit and white hair. That animation, it was brilliant. Kinda reminds me of the vibe of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. I loved it. The third one is another easy explanation. Scary Mary Poppins. The gist of this one's existence is that film studies GCSE sometimes has their students recut films into trailers that change the genre that they're selling the film into. This was what if Mary Poppins was a horror film. Worth noting to this day that the only footage I've ever seen of this film is from this trailer. It's pretty bog standard, but the most notable bit was Mary's head spinning like she's in full Exorcist Master Race mode. We'll sort of get to that in a minute. This wasn't the last time that I was shown something during primary school in class by the teacher that scared me half to death either. I first watched Coraline in class, though that's hardly worth mentioning as I think we all felt fear from the button eyes. Then there was another video based on a poem, One Winter's Night. Basic vampire story, the jump scare got me. I can't show any of that, but the video rocks. Very interesting 2D animation. I want to say I was shown Alma at school as well. 3D animation about a kid that writes their name on a board, one going to a deserted toy store, sees a toy with their face, tries to touch it, becomes a toy and is trapped forever. It was being heavily implied that every other name on that board suffered the same fate. Again, I don't really think I need to explain why that freaked me out. But that's why it's so high on this list. It's a very simple one. Sorry that was kind of a bit of a quick one, considering the amount of ground we covered. Yeah, it's insane. Another easy one. Yeah, I know. Boo, hiss, whatever. It's my channel. I'll take the easy way out if I want to. But this is a story I kind of want to retell, as it's one of the more tragic bits of the old video dying. When I was a child, I was into a certain character that will show up later. I drove my family, shall we say, crazy with it. I spent so much time watching those music videos, all but one, getting there, on YouTube. But we're not talking about him yet, at all. I can't prove this memory happened. My nan always said she remembered it, my granddad swears he doesn't. My parents don't really remember it, despite the fact that I swear they were there. Even my own memories are obviously distorted by the years. So I don't even remember how this actually wound up happening. This event predated ads on YouTube or even autoplay. But after one particular viewing of a music video, me and my granddad clicked on one of the links on the sidebar of recommended videos, keeping in mind that I swear their cowbench used to moo at me. So I don't trust me on this. Anyways, the video that followed was a wee bit bizarre. I've actually recreated it sort of, as I remember it, using someone's neat footage of the Grand Canyon at sunset and a green screen cave feed ship. So the general gist of it was that a canyon pan through at sunset, as some kind of Zareen Zuma Blipsy type music is playing, and then it kind of reverses a little bit, and then a monster jumps out at you. You'll see that now. It's very much like the KFC commercials, which, in fairness, could have been, because they were really in on the internet back then. This was prime Screamer season. You know the shit I mean. You couldn't move on the internet without being randomly jump scared. Spot the difference? Regan. Jackson's Home. Thriller. Luigi and Mario 64. Last video with the KFC jump scare at the end. So I wouldn't be shocked if this video did exist and disappeared not too far in the future, because that actually happened to a lot of them. So yeah, this video was something that stuck me for years. And then when I got to high school, I was pointing in the direction of these old German coffee commercials from a company known as KFC. I watched them, it seemed familiar, but also I couldn't find the exact thing I remembered. To this day, I'm not sure. Did I make it up? Was it real? I don't know. But again, it wouldn't be the only video I made at my grandparents' house as a child. You stay away from me, you stupid cabbage. I mean, what? Who said that? Once upon a time, I was only tangentially aware of Doctor Who. It was a more peaceful existence, believe me. But it was this show that I, for some reason, felt like I was supposed to watch, and chose to do so a solid 4 months tops before I actually started watching it for real. See, I tell this story constantly on Doctor Who Twitter, but I once flicked onto a channel that was showing the End of Time Part 1 in early 2010. It must have been early because I started watching Doctor Who between the 24th of April and the 1st of May. For real, the time of Angels on iPlayer. Because of a Nintendo magazine. I told you. I tell this story a lot. Anyways, lucky me that I tuned in around the start of the episode. More specifically, Tennant arriving on the planet of the Ood, and locking the TARDIS like a car. Oods were kind of weird, but I got over that for some reason. Meanwhile, they're talking about a character who I had no idea what his deal was. The Master. So the scene goes on, and Lucy Saxon, who again, I don't know anything about, is dragged into a room by police. They forcefully do something to her with a tissue in her mouth I really don't want to know, and throw it into a cauldron of sorts. A man pops out, and something about this whole thing is just freaking me out. Now bear in mind that I was only 6 or 7 years old at the time, depending on when this was being aired. The Master's resurrection always got me. And it nearly stopped me from watching the show at all. Thank God for booze, eh? Anyways, this is only one or two... I'm losing my shit. I didn't fall for a lot of the whole behind the sofa moments in my lifetime. Only Pegdolls ever really lived up to that fear, really. Also, the kind of poorly timed ventriloquist dummies that coincided with Night Living Dummy Freeze TV adaptation scaring me to death, when Hayden Christensen got turned into one of them. Mannequin Skywalker indeed. Before I do this one, I need to just pre-warn you all that I'm feeling a little bit under the weather at the moment. I'm a little bit snuffly. So, this is probably going to go pretty wrong. That was part of why the previous part sounded so dodgy. So, most people in my generation were pretty into creepypasta at a time. It's also technically bending my rules of trying not to do things that are meant to be scary, as we're meant to be mocking my idiot child brain. And considering creepypasta is usually extremely stupid, and believe me, the main topic isn't really an exception, it kind of fits. If you don't know, creepypasta is this branch of online folklore that used to be stuff that got copied and pasted from site to site. Copypasta, that eventually got this hardcore following. You had all sorts come from that. Slenderman, Jeff the Killer, Smardog, Red Mist, Dead Bart, The Grieving, even a personal favourite of mine known as Candle Cove. Lost Episode creepypasta was everywhere for a bit, and led to such classics as me being told the horror story of a lost Peppa Pig episode on a farm in Hereford by either the girl we'd gone camping with the family of, or the girl both our families had met there. 9-year-old me was enticed by this story. By the way, that one's called Why, for those of you who were wondering. it was almost entirely scrubbed off of the internet for being a troll pastor when the creepypasta wiki decided it was too good for a lot of these stories. Anyways, the general formula of these stories is that someone was a big fan of X as a child, they wind up in the presence of a mysterious DVD with the lost episode, they watch it in utter horror of its contents, then they keep the DVD with the meaning of such a horrific creation. Usually, hyper-realistic blood is involved. What is hyper-realistic blood? What's the difference between that and ordinary realistic blood? Or sort of realistic blood? Or Call of Duty blood? I'm getting distracted again, aren't I? This story's a little bit different, in that it was created to suit a video. The video's been out there for years, 12 to be exact, which was maybe 9 months or so before I watched it and read the story. It takes place in a little room, where it pans out of the fire to meet a strange CGI man, with an oddly realistic mouth. He starts introducing himself with a weird monotone voice. It gets a little weird when he pauses to stare at the fire, but then it dials up into full-blown creepy. I don't mean scary creepy, I mean check this man's basement creepy. I don't really know how to explain this without going for the jugular, so I'm going to do a dramatic reenactment for your viewing pleasure. We're going to have so much fun together, just the two of us, alone in this room, just me and you. No parents, no police, no one can hear you. Embrace me. Gregory needs love. Kit needs love. I mean Gregory. Sorry. Bit too into character there. So anyway, Freudian slips aside. Allegedly, this was a 1999 Nick Jr. pilot that was rejected due to poor focus group results. This led to a weird false memory where I swore I'd seen this show on the listings for Nick Jr. on my childhood Skybox. I didn't, I couldn't have, but I swore for months I did. So you may have been wondering, what an 11-year-old such as myself might have found objectionable about this video that it's wound up on this list. It was a lot of things really. The video opening on static made it feel like an artificial changing of the channel, veering to Gregory's domain. No parents, no police, you know the kind of thing. It genuinely felt like a conspiracy to have me killed for a tick. Oh, yeah. Add to that my old TV's annoying habit of flashing the blue light that symbolised it being on in the middle of the night even if the thing was off. Never really did understand what that was about. Sometimes I'd irrationally panic that the video was going to turn itself on via my Chromecast. Obviously Gregory himself fit into the whole CGI abomination thing that a lot of low quality CGI fits into. So there is that. And then there was just the last line. Again, no parents, no police, no one can hear you. You can kind of get why I, who had yet to see any horror films or any serious scary stuff beyond Goosebumps level, would be a little freaked out. That said, the video's ridiculous. I had my moments with Dead Bart and the grieving, of course. Hell, it's taken me years to get over that stupid image of Gumball. But Gregory's room traumatised me so badly for a bit that it took me camping in Wales away from my phone and TV to get over that shit. And it wound up polluting my love of Ben Drown too. Cheeky cunt. I swear. We're getting into the good shit now though. I'm going to have a word with the people that would know best about this. Because I'm going to get the real good scoop on my 4 stupidest fears. Including one that this video is kind of centered around because of how stupid and inconsistent it was. So stick around, kids. I'm doing this intermission just to elaborate a little bit on the thing I said before about my feeling a little bit under the weather. I'm fine, but like it is meaning that I'm stumbling over my words a lot tonight because my throat just catches as I'm saying things. So just bear with me. Anyways, this is the Halloween special. This has been the Halloween special I've had planned for years. It's not the Halloween special that I've been planning, but hey, this video was supposed to be 5 years ago, and it technically was. So, let's get into the next bit, because believe me, this is gonna be so fucking embarrassing for me. The story of gaming beginning for me is, well, it's a bit blurry. See, I was very young when I began gaming as a kid. We're talking literal toddler. It was either my parents' N64 or my parents' GBA. And it was definitely Mario either way. Either Super Mario Bros. 3 or Super Mario 64. Bring us forward a bit to when I was 4 or 5 years old, still with my old CRT TV right before it blew out on us one Christmas. I was really into Super Mario 64 despite having never gotten that far. Thing is, 64-bit graphics were already outdated by the time I was born. And therefore I was used to a slightly higher fidelity despite this game being a thing at the beginning for me. After you get a few stars in Super Mario 64, you can head for a wooden door that's always been accessible, except a big boo is now floating ahead of you. You approach, it heads to the door. So what's the problem? I hear you asking. Now I'll tell you what the problem is. That fucking face! So blank, so flat, so evil. That face plagued my nightmares. I used to dream that if I beat the boo to the door, I'd go out there and all the boo's faces out in the courtyard would then be mangled and horrific. That story's kind of over. It's as simple as that. It wasn't a very complex fear. But it wasn't the only weird as fuck dream I had about Super Mario 64 in my early childhood. I also dreamed of a sprawling castle with winding corridors that didn't make a lot of sense to me. Of geometry that felt unfinished. Basically, I dreamt of the personalisation AI. For those unaware, the personalisation AI is a creepypasta-esque story told at the turn of this decade that played into the inherent liminality, or creepiness of emptiness, of sorts, of Super Mario 64. As an early 3D game, the game features a lot of empty space, and therefore it's only natural that kids were sometimes afraid of this game. This story tapped into our childhood nightmares by claiming that every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalised. You've all heard of that story. Honestly, it was a good bit of horror for a bit. Obviously, we had some real fun with it on the channel. And even spawned the greatest video game I've ever played, B3313, a game we've all had a lot of fun with that one. This touched on the beta of the game, a mystery that has surrounded Mario 64 for years, and brought the horror to the unfinished world. It was a fantastic game and I truly loved it. Partly because I'd seen these corridors before. It was impossible, I knew it was. But I dreamt of them over a decade earlier, in my nightmares. Weirdly enough, I had similar dreams about Lazy Town, after going to the Butlins experience of it. It was a different era. Side note, I also had a similar dream of Ocarina of Time of what would happen if I ever escaped Kokiri Forest. That's a story for another time. I just think this story's neat though. Not a lot more to say about it. Moving on! So I was a Star Wars fan from the age of 5. You know what made this difficult? I was afraid of Yoda. Fucking Yoda. I'm not even kidding. And not even Phantom Menace Abomination Puppet Yoda. Empire Strikes Back Yoda. I guess this isn't that weird. Yoda has these weird ass teeth. And that was one of those things that got me as a kid. Actually, I still have a thing with teeth now. It's less fear now and more just aversion. But it made me completely unable to watch the original trilogy until I was about 11. While waiting for the crippling disappointment that was The Force Awakens. God damn you, J.J. Abrams. You ruined Star Wars. But we're not here to talk about that today. Anyway, the bit that makes this ultra funny is that version of Yoda in the 2008 series, the Clone Wars, was not something I feared. Hell, I was even obsessed with my uncle's Yoda action figure. Weird how many of these fears I was also obsessed with. I don't really have much more to say about this, and in fact I'm conscious of not having too much Star Wars shit on the video, hence this being another B-roll thing. Because Disney fucking suck. Lucky for me, I had a Jedi Academy mod up my sleeve to prove my point. Thank you for the fact that I already recorded footage of me playing as Yoda years ago in one of my more viewed videos. Since the dawn of time, mankind has asked one single question.
Who gives you extra?
See, once upon a time, banks actually had to compete for your business rather than just outlasting the other local branches. They did this via investment plans, interest rates on savings and ISAs, and oh my god, I can't fucking talk about this. I can't sit here and act like banks are interesting. Let's just get to it. We actually had advertisements that were there in between programs back in the day, including for these banks. This was before the lunatics at Netflix decided that they didn't need that and told idiots at home that adverts were optional. That's a different argument for a different day, preferably when I am incredibly drunk to deal with the mind-numbing stupidity of the opposite side. More of that on Twitter, never go there. So Halifax, a little bank in England, began to work on an advertising campaign that starred this lovely charismatic bloke known only as Howard Brown. Howard was known for all sorts of adverts such as X-Bomb, My Extra Thing, some poems about what Halifax can offer you with one of their cards, some fish advert, and Angel. Not the really cool Angel from Buffy, just to clarify. My understanding is that he was pretty well liked back in the day.
Surprised by this than me, I can tell you.
Well, there've been women coming into the branch and stealing life-size cardboard cutouts of you.
Yes, I'm...
Becoming a guest on This Morning and also cameoing in The Office's Christmas special. On top of this, Howard's one of us. He's a brummie. So with that in mind, what is he doing here? This is a list of fears, not a place for a rather innocent, even lovable man to go. Well, if you were a toddler around that time, the same as me, you'd probably understand. Yeah, here we go, the CGI monstrosities again. I guess I'm the right generation for them, having been born at the start of the mass adoption of 3D animation in everything. So yeah, we've got an extremely dodgy CGI recreation of Howard Brown that was on every damn ad break. I used to have to run/toddle off into the kitchen and hide for a minute until the ad was over. I'd actually dream of Howard reaching out the TV to drag me in constantly. Yet I still wound up with the savings money box from Halifax and was almost destined to wind up with them for my banking, before they all but disappeared from many of our high streets, leaving me to wind up banking with Lloyd's. Now, I can't exactly get a proper time fix on these animated adverts, and in fairness, there's not many of the animated adverts based on what I've dug through, but I'm telling you, that face was burned into my mind through my nightmares. I'm also pretty sure there was a money box of this haunting Howard Brown animated insanity. I swear. This is still the most embarrassing one on the list, so don't fucking care. So we're only doing one honourable mention for me today. Then we're going to discuss a few other people's fears. That being my four swords, Josh, Ella and Sean's childhood fears, and my brother's childhood fear. My honourable mention is Reed Dead's Ocarina of Time. It's an obvious one. The zombie-like reanimated clay that latches on to you like nobody's business. When I faced him in the demo on Brawl as a kid, it was enough to scare me out of Zelda for like a year. It couldn't really justifiably make the list when the majority of this is just funny shit and I'm already pushing my luck with a bunch of other stuff. But also, stuff that I'm reasonably sure most people wouldn't answer with. The Redeads are a really common fear. Then you've got my brother. He's 2 years younger than me and actually shared my number one pick for years. But when I went to him for an answer for this video, he came up with an answer that brought back memories. Scrap. From Ice Age. He used to run out of the room whenever Scrap was on in these classic 2000s films. It's a funny thing to think about, considering Scrap's probably the funniest bit of the franchise, but we've been over this. Early 2000s CGI was weird. What else can I tell you? Then we've got Josh. Josh actually answered with something a little less out there, but pretty in line with my retro gaming based fears. He answered with silence, specifying that the Mario Kart Wii Online disconnection thing, where players would stop moving and the player would spend about 30 seconds as the last one able to move before the screen faded to black and an error message came up after a sound of silence. Pretty freaky stuff, huh? Then you've got Ella's. Now, Ella didn't really have much of an answer, choosing quite obvious ones. She initially said Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, but I went back to her as I was recording the audio today, and I got a definitive answer. Dolls and statues. Pretty average stuff that makes sense, really. Shout out to Ella's Nan for the porcelain statues of women that she collected that were the stuff of nightmares to our beloved Forsword during her childhood. As for Sean, he was meant to be making an official debut to the team in this video, but I never got round to actually filming that. Thankfully, he's replying to me as I'm typing this with his answer now. Now that is coming in clutch, as they say these days. Sean's was the level failed sound from Raving Rabbids on the Wii, which I can't say I'm too familiar with, but honestly that helps this list maintain diversity. Thank you, Four Swords, and thank you, my little brother, for their absolutely helpful responses to this.
Don't let your kids watch it!
We all had dumbass fears as a kid. But have you ever had a love-hate relationship with a being that one day you're the biggest fan, the next you're deeply afraid of it? Well, let me introduce you to an old adversary of the channel. The annoying thing. The crazy frog. The ring-a-ding-ding. The old Bem. To understand this, you have to understand one thing. I was the biggest Crazy Frog fan going. I knew all the songs, I had both the games and art school. I guess I didn't have the GBA racer, but nobody's perfect. I had toys, I had keyrings, I had plushies. Every time I went to Butleyton's, I craved the plushies in the grabbing machine by the entrance. I had CDs, I had bedding. This proved to be terribly inconvenient when every few months or so, I'd develop a brief phobia of the weird creature, often while the bedding was on my bed. So the thing with this fear is, I don't really know how it happened. I can guess why I was afraid of it at all. What I don't get is the inconsistency. Why was it only occasional fear? It's a bit like Yoda in that respect, just dialed up to 1,000. So I don't really understand that. This kind of ties in with my brother a little, like I said. He was shit scared of the froggy bastard as well. Between We're the Champions' weird frog army, which to be fair is freaky as fuck, and just generally the bizarre animation, have you ever seen that fucker bald? Without his hat? I can't say I blame him. Hell, the DJ clip of him eating the record properly fucking killed me. Anyway, my brother swears blind that there was this ident on Pop once of an attic, and in that attic was a Crazy Frog plush amongst other things. Might not have even been an ident, but he couldn't give me more to go off of, so I doubt it was more than a bad dream. Lightly spurred on by the fact that froggy fucker was in our loft for a while, I'm pretty sure. It got so bad, and I swear I've got more dignity than this now, so the fact I'm recounting this story at all raises serious questions of whether I even like dignity. For me, that I couldn't even fucking flush a fucking toilet without covering my ears. Because for some unknown reason, I had it in my head that he'd hear me and attack. But that's not the case if I cover my ears. No, for some reason he would do it too. As if he were mimicking the movement. No, I don't understand the logic. I was like 5 or 6 and I was freaked out by a CGI frog. Sorry, Eric. I take no great pleasure in announcing that. But also, in the spirit of Halloween, I feel like mocking our old fears is something that we all enjoy doing. There's more to this story though, because the Froggy Bastard had one music video that I couldn't watch until long after the craze had died down. The video, called In the House, starts up with a strange white limo pulling up. And to be fair, the fact that a strange white vehicle with tinted windows was seemingly enough to scare me half to death is probably a good sign that even then I understood not to get into strange vehicles. But then the frog shows up, and to be honest, I can't really explain my fear of this video. It's partly music, partly the fact that the fuck was in the real world. It's gotta be that, hasn't it? I already had this weird tangential fear of the fucker pursuing me into the real world, despite the fact that the only thing I'd ever seen him eat was cotton candy and a record. I suppose it makes sense that the video that sees him interacting with actual physical people would make me run for the hills. I did eventually fully get over the fear of the frog, of course. Well, until I found out it might be returning in 2020, but that was a whole different kind of fear.
Don't do this. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Don't do it. 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 Hang on. We're in quarter 2. No, don't do it, 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 don't do it.
But that time in history where I was in equal parts a fan of it and also shit scared of it was a weird one for definite.
Your favourite remix ringtones now in the Ringtone King Club. Text Remix 5 for Sweetie the Chick, or check out the Crazy Frog remix by texting Remix 6.
Don't let your kids watch it!
Well, there it is. The things that scared me as a child. So now I turn it on to you, my dearest viewers. What scared the absolute shit out of you as a child? Did any particular part of this list resonate with you? Have you lost whatever remaining respect you had for me after listing such things such as Yoda and the Froggy Fucker? Halloween's a wonderful time of year, and I enjoy sharing the silly things that we were afraid of as children. Childhood trauma is such an interesting topic because most of us had hyperactive imaginations as children. It's where Mario 64 came so heavily into play for my childhood, and why, upon playing B-Through 313, it felt like I'd returned to someone that I knew I could never have actually been. I apologise for how I sounded in this video. I felt a little bit fucked all night, ever since getting home to film it all. I'm also sorry that I've stumbled over so many of my words. I'm just not very, very good at this still. This is one of very, very, very few videos I've actually scripted. It's part of a new format I've been trialling out ever since the N64 beta video. And with that, guys, I thank you as always for watching me. Happy Halloween from Infinity Games and the Four Swords. See you in Zelda month.